Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. So today I wanted to do a TBR video. So if you've seen my goals video that I did, actually I think it was in November, I usually do a retrospective and a goals video for the upcoming year together, because I find that I sort of use the goals that I've had for a year and sort of think about what worked and what I want to change in my approach to reading and all of the things, and base my new goals on those, so it just makes sense to have them together. So anyway, in that video I talked, one of my goals for 2021 is to the classic decrease the TBR goal, and it's a combination of actually wanting to read my own books and also decreasing the number of books added to the shelves so that the total amount decreases over the year. That was one of the goals that I had for 2020 as well, and of course with the pandemic it didn't seem that important for a few months, and I was buying from indie stores and all the things. Like there's a ton of excuses for buying books during a pandemic, and it wasn't until the end of the year that I started to work on this goal again, and so it's more of a central goal for 2021. As I mentioned in the goals video, I have been thinking about how to sort of chronicle this process in video format. And the main reason for it is to hold myself accountable, because I've noticed already this year there's so many books I want to buy. As soon as I hear about an interesting book, my first instinct is to want to buy it and to have it. The state of my TBR is the purpose of this video. I thought that I would show you a little bit of an overview of my TBR and how I've sorted them. They're not that sorted, to be honest, because usually I order my books once in a while, a few months apart, because it's a big commitment and project to do. I have so many books that it takes quite a few hours to sort everything and order them and everything. But I thought that I would give you an overview of how they are ordered at the moment, and there's sort of general genre splits, kind of categories, whatever, and basically my intent is to give you an overview so that you know what to compare it to as we go along with the year, and hopefully I will do sort of quarterly check-ins maybe with my TBR and how it's going, and how much of my own books I've been reading and how much of the library and whatnot I've been reading. I've been scanning them into Library Thing. I just used it as a personal way to catalog my unread books, and at the moment I have 451 unread books on my shelves. This is not necessarily an exact number, because I have a few books that are not books I would count as unread, in the sense that they are maybe coffee table books that I'm not planning on reading in the same way, or I've been reading sections from, and I don't count them as unread because the purpose is different. I thought that I would show you the 451 books with an overview, and maybe if you see a book that either that you have read and loved and think I should prioritize, let me know, or if there's a book on my TBR that you would like to buddy read, also let me know, because I think buddy reads are so fun to do. I tend to be a little bit slow as a buddy reader, but I find them a lot of fun to do, and I think they have often turned out to be some of the best reading experiences I've had. So those are the two main points really that I'm asking from you as a viewer. If you see a book you would like to buddy read with me, or if you see a book that you have loved, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I guess I will just turn you around to my shelves and we'll see what the state of my TBR is at the moment, and hopefully I will actually end up doing regular check-ins with how my TBR reading is going and how it's moving, how it's developing over the year. Last year I actually started doing a library tour of my read shelves, and I didn't finish that one off, and I had intended to do a TBR library tour as well. But let me know if you would like more of a close-up of any of these shelves of the TBR, and I can make that happen. I'm just gonna, as I said, do an overview this time, because it's gonna take ages to go through all of these books. But hopefully you will get a bit of a sense of the TBR, and you can let me know what to read next, or in the near future, that is. So that was really all I wanted to say for this very rambly introduction. I'm in a rambly mood apparently. So I hope you're doing well and you're taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. And let's move on to my TBR. This entire shelf is unread books, and this entire shelf up to this point is unread books. Then those two are read. Those are read. This shelf is I'm calling it kind of like my priority TBR, because this is the shelf that I've used as a these are the books that I'm eager to get to sooner rather than later. That is sort of the way that I've used this shelf space. A lot of them are nonfiction books that I've gotten, most of them I think in 2020. Actually a few of them I've started as well. This is one of the most recent acquisitions I have. I think I haven't done a book haul in a while, and that is one that I've bought in the second half of 2020. This is one I'm likely to read fairly soon because I'm doing a Miyazaki marathon watch for Invisible Cities in January. So this shelf starts with some of the translated literature that I have. So I have, these three are mainly translated literature. I've sort of set them aside because of Invisible Cities and because in general I want to read more translated literature. So I want them to be easy to see and easy to access. So a few of them also have Swedish books, so obviously for me they are not translated. But it's sort of the international shelves. This is a Banana Yoshimoto book in Japanese, and I hope that I can one day read it, but I am not there yet with my kanji reading. And then I have also, this is one I might read in January because it also fits with the Japanese Invisible Cities reading for Japan. And there's also another project on Instagram called January in Japan by Endnotes that fits well with our first Invisible Cities month. More translated books, more Swedish books. This is one I'm definitely going to be reading for February for Colombia in Invisible Cities. This one is another one I'm so eager to get to because, to be honest, I've been wanting to read it since it came out in April 2020, I think. The rest of the translated literature and more books that I'm planning to read soonish. Like, these are all Chinese, I think, and then some Japanese. This is one I'm going to be reading starting this Sunday with Jenny. I will link her channel below. And this is one I'm very likely to read in March. This is one I'm planning to read this month as well for Argentina. We have the last shelf on this entire bookcase. This is a dictionary, and this is a bird guide, so those are not TBR books really. And this is a French dictionary. I do have quite a few of those. I can't remember if I showed this shelf, but this is mainly nonfiction, the big nonfiction books. This is mainly nonfiction and biographies because, again, they are the big and heavy books that need a lot of space. This is probably the heaviest book I own. And it's a biography of Karin Boye. We have Hamnet, which again is a book that I really want to read, but you know, that is a theme here. And then we move on to more nonfiction mainly. I think this is mostly history. Paris Review that I bought last year intending to read immediately, which I obviously did not. We have some Swedish books. This is another Swedish epic poem that is, even though it's very big, it's actually very sparse in the text, so I'm probably going to be reading that fairly soon. This one I just bought at the end of last year. It's a collection of essays by various nature writer related people. And it's one of those books that is so stunning that I've been wanting to get it for a while and finally just caved at the end of last year. White Review and Snot Girl and Motor Crush, which I really should have read because they take no time at all to read. This is the State of the Nature nonfiction that I haven't read yet. I think there's definitely a few that are somewhere else, and some books that are not nature related at all, like Shakespeare here. But Badgerland and Otter's Tale, Squirrels in My Window. I think I've shown several of these in the past. I think this is one I will be reading soonish. The Hidden Life of Trees. I started it and really enjoyed the information in it, and I feel like it fits well with my fungi and tree related reading that I did in 2020. So it should really happen in the near future. And then this is another one that I want to finish because I've started it and loved what I read so far. History, historical fiction, fantasy, classics. It's all of the things. There's a few like magazines and catalogs and things in this that I like the idea of magazines, but I'm really bad with reading them. So pretty much all of the magazines I've bought, like Womankind and the White Review and the Paris Review, I haven't actually finished, if even started. So that is something I would like to change this year, that if I buy a magazine, I actually spend the time to read it. I think most of the books on this shelf is classics. So we have short stories of Sherlock Holmes. We have John Wyndham that I haven't read ever. Virginia Woolf, the vintage editions. More modern classics like Atwood, who I don't think I've read either. This is again more sort of international and Swedish. This is a book I think I've mentioned before. It's a book about the Sami, which is an indigenous group in Sweden that I actually really want to read more about. And I bought it a few years ago in connection with a tag I did. I will link it below if I can remember which one it was. But it talked about sort of native and indigenous groups in your country and books related to that. So that is one book I actually researched in order to find because of that book tag. This is another Swedish classic. I'm thinking of possibly doing a Swedish classics video, either for a TBR or books I read, and sort of have recommendations. If you're interested in that, definitely let me know. This side of the shelf is mainly sort of travel related. Prozac Nation is mental illness related, of course, but the first few are movement, and then we have a few more that is movement and physics, and then we have more sort of contemporary fiction, some historical fiction, but mainly just fiction published in the last few years. The last shelf is historical fiction, and they are some of the ones that I'm most excited to read, but I just haven't been prioritizing it because I've been doing various projects and buddy reads and whatnot, so it just hasn't happened. But there's a few on this shelf that I'm particularly eager to get to. Because I find that historical fiction is really good escapism kind of reading and very sort of immersive reading for me. So I might just pick up one of these when I've finished my Invisible Cities reading for the month. So that's all for this TBR overview thing. I'm sure that I've missed a few because, as I said, I'm not that orderly, so they're not all in the proper place. But at least you get sort of a feel as to what books I have that I haven't read, and also you get a sense of how 451 books, what that looks like.